Yeah, I think we had completed that particular chapter last class. Come on. I had talked about something called as nucleus and all ना. I had explained you all nucleus. मैं लास्ट क्लास में न्यूक्लियस आपको एक्सप्लेन किया था नहीं किया था? चलो, those who had attended my last class, please tell me last Monday. Nucleus, chromosome. I had started with mitochondria. Then I told you about spherosome, peroxisome, centriole, है ना? And then I had talked about something called as nucleus, nucleoplasm. किया है ना हमने? हाँ या ना? At least tell me that, yes or no. I'm not asking you questions on that. I just need to confirm that we have done that, so that I can move on to the new chapter, that is biological classification. Okay. So according to me, I had completed these things with you all in the last class, and I'm going ahead with the new chapter, that is biological classification. जो लोग अटेंड करते हो, तुम लोग क्या नींद में अटेंड करते हो क्या लेक्चर्स? हाँ बेटा, you don't know what is being taught in the class? बोलो. When I'm asking, have we done this, I'm expecting an answer from you all. Yes, you have done this, or no, you haven't done this. Something is expected from you all, right? We are going ahead with the new chapter, that is biological classification. As you can see from the photograph itself, it's going to be the 5 classes that we have to go about. That is Plantae, Animalia, Monera, Protista, and Fungi. So what are these 5 classes, and how the entire world has been classified into these 5 classes is something that we have to understand. Aristotle, he was the first one to start with his journey of classification. He used simple morphological characters to classify plants into trees, shrubs, and herbs. So he was the first one to just randomly tell कि हाँ ये जो है ये बड़े हैं इसलिए इनको trees कहेंगे. These are non-woody plants, तो इनको shrubs कहेंगे. These are woody plants, छोटे हैं तो इनको herbs कहेंगे. So the first classification was started by Aristotle. He also divided animals into 2 groups, the one which was having red blood and the other which was not having red blood. Okay, so in this way, Aristotle was the first one who began this work of grouping. The art of identifying distinctions among organisms and placing them into groups that reflect their most significant features and relationships is called as biological classification. So इसमें कुछ नहीं है, इसमें ग्रुप्स बनाने हैं बेस्ड ऑन सर्टेन सिमिलैरिटीज, सर्टेन कैरेक्टर्स. हमने जो लिविंग वर्ल्ड में देखा था कि हमने कैसे ग्रुप्स बनाए थे, राइट? जीनस कौन है, ये अपने फैमिली कौन है, एंड सो ऑन. In the same way, you are going to make the groups depending upon certain similarities. That is going to be called as biological classification, right? Various schemes dividing the organisms into 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 kingdoms have been proposed from time to time. 2-kingdom classification system involved Plantae and Animalia. It was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus, the same one who had given binomial classification. This includes Plantae and Animalia. What were the drawbacks of only 2 systems? Okay, only 2 kingdoms. The problem kya tha is what they are saying. Earlier classification systems included bacteria, blue-green algae, fungi, mosses, ferns, gymnosperm, angiosperm into plants. ये सारों को इकट्ठा मिलाकर सिर्फ plants कहा जाता था. Well, The character that unified this whole organism was that all organisms included had a cell wall in their cell. तो बैक्टीरिया को भी सेल वॉल है, एल्गे को भी सेल वॉल है, फंगाई को भी सेल वॉल है, मॉसल्स, फर्न, जिम्नोस्पर्म्स, एंजियोस्पर्म्स, सबको सेल वॉल है, इसलिए ये सारे प्लांट्स है। ऐसे पहले क्लासिफिकेशन सिस्टम में माना जाता था। ओके, so just because of the presence of cell wall, these all are plants, ऐसे कंसिडर किया जाता था। This placed together groups which widely differ in other characters. तो अभी फॉर एग्जाम्पल देखेंगे तो यूनिसेलुलर बैक्टीरिया एंड मल्टीसेलुलर ग्रीन प्लांट्स, कितना फर्क है दोनों में। बट जस्ट बिकॉज दे वर हैविंग अ सेल वॉल, इनको एक साथ इकट्ठा रखा गया था, which was wrong. Unicellular plants and animals resemble each other in the level of organization and reproduction by fission, but placed in two separate kingdoms. Say, for example, Chlamydomonas and Spirogyra were placed under algae. तो ये जो Chlamydomonas है ये यूनिसेलुलर है, Spirogyra है ये जो मल्टीसेलुलर है, इनको एक साथ algae के अंदर रखा गया था पहले। It brought together prokaryotic bacteria and blue-green algae with other groups which were eukaryotic. So अपना बैक्टीरिया भी प्रोकैरियोटिक है एंड अपना ब्लू ग्रीन एल्गे भी प्रोकैरियोटिक है, but both of them, now you know what is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. We have already done cell unit of life chapter, so I'm sure you know what it is all about, right? So the prokaryotic cells are so much different from the eukaryotic cells, yet they were placed together under one group. The classification did not differentiate between heterotrophic groups, fungi and the autotrophic green plants, though they also showed a characteristic difference in their cell wall composition. The fungi had chitin in their cell walls, and the green plants have got cellulose in their cell wall, yet they were placed together. So fungi सबसे पहले तो autotrophic है नहीं, heterotrophic है, means what बेटा, they cannot make their own food, they have to depend on some other organism for their food. फिर भी उसको प्लांट्स के साथ रखा गया, जबकि प्लांट क्या है, प्लांट इज एन ऑटोट्रॉफिक, कैन मेक इट्स ओन फूड। तो एनिमल्स एंड प्लांट्स एंड फंगाई दोनों इतने डिफरेंट है, फिर भी उनको इकट्ठा रखा गया। क्यों रखा गया, तो सेल वॉल है इसलिए, पर इवन द सेल वॉल वाज डिफरेंट, इवन द कंपोजिशन ऑफ द सेल वॉल वाज डिफरेंट। फंगाई का सेल वॉल इज मेड अप ऑफ फंगल सेल्यूलोज या काइटिन कहते हैं हम लोग उसको, CHITIN is not chitin, it's chitin. Okay, so they had chitin and plants अपने जो है green plants they have got cellulose. तो सिर्फ सेल वॉल है इसलिए इकट्ठा रखना was wrong ना, correct? When such characteristics were considered, the fungi were placed in a separate kingdom which is called as kingdom fungi. Some of the organisms like virus and lichens can't be placed in either of these two kingdoms because of their peculiar characteristics. So we cannot keep lichens and viruses in any of these 5 kingdoms. So lichens भी अलग ही एक level का group है, viruses भी एक अलग level का group है. Okay, but they are not coming under any kingdom. So then came the 3 kingdom classification, जिसमें Protista add हो गया. So it was proposed by Ernst Haeckel, who was a German zoologist. It included unicellular eukaryotic microorganisms. 3 kingdoms according to Haeckel are Protista, Plantae and Animalia. तो यूकैरियोटिक है लेकिन यूनिसेलुलर है, तो उन्होंने यूनिसेलुलर एंड मल्टीसेलुलर को सेपरेट करा दिया। उन्होंने क्या करा दिया, यूनिसेलुलर एंड मल्टीसेलुलर को सेपरेट करा दिया। तो कुछ प्लांट्स थे जो यूनिसेलुलर थे, so he took Ernst Haeckel, he took those unicellular organisms into this group which were plants. He also took some animals which were unicellular and brought them under this particular group which was including plants के unicellular also. Similarly fungus के भी कुछ ऐसे organisms थे जो unicellular थे, तो इन्होंने क्या किया, सारे मल्टीसेलुलर्स में से यूनिसेलुलर हटा के एक ग्रुप बनाया और उस ग्रुप का नाम क्या दे दिया, प्रोटिस्टा. So now the Protista included all the unicellular organisms, let it be from plant, let it be from animal, let it be from fungus. from all the different sources. Now only unicellulars have been brought together. Okay. And what was the name given to it? Protista. This solves the problem of assigning suitable kingdom to the organisms which have similarities with both plants and animals. All prokaryotic animals were grouped together under the kingdom Monera, and the unicellular eukaryotic organisms were placed in kingdom Protista. Kingdom Protista had brought together Chlamydomonas, Chlorella, which were earlier placed in kingdom Plantha, in algae, with Paramecium and Amoeba, which were earlier placed in animal kingdom, which lack a cell wall. So see, this Protista is having plant-like unicellular organisms, fungi-like unicellular organisms, and animal-like unicellular organisms. So what is Protista? Protista is a group of unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Fine? Understood? Then came the fourth kingdom, which included Monera. It was proposed by Copeland, who was an American taxonomist. Included all prokaryotes, that is bacteria, cyanobacteria, etc., to be placed under the kingdom Monera, also called as Mycota. According to Copeland, four kingdoms are Monera, Protista, Plantae, and Animalia. Now just try to understand this. When Ernst Haeckel had proposed Protista, he had brought all unicellulars over there, right? So that unicellulars were eukaryotic unicellular as well as prokaryotic unicellular. So it was a mixture of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now Copeland ने कहा अर्नस्ट हेकल को, भाई तूने जो काम किया है बहुत बढ़िया काम किया है, कि सारे यूनिसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स को तुमने इकट्ठा बुला लिया तुम्हारे ग्रुप में, लेकिन एक छोटी सी तुमने गड़बड़ की है, और वो ये है कि तुमने यूनिसेलुलर प्रोकैरियोट्स और यूनिसेलुलर यूकैरियोट्स को साथ में रखा है. सो बेटर होगा कि हम इन दोनों को भी सेपरेट कर लें. सो कोपलैंड रिक्वेस्टेड अर्नस्ट हेकल with his permission to separate unicellular prokaryotes from unicellular eukaryotes. ठीक है? In this way, the fourth kingdom, that is Monera, came into existence. The main drawback of this system is that fungi are not properly placed, and therefore came the fifth kingdom, that is five kingdom classification put forward by Whittaker, R.H. Whittaker, and he made a new kingdom called as kingdom fungi. So proposed by Robert H. Whittaker, also called as R.H. Whittaker, who was an American ecologist, includes non-chlorophyllous, means the one which does not have the chlorophyll pigment. Non-chlorophyllous heterotrophic plants classified under kingdom Plantae. Heterotrophic means the ones which cannot make their own food. They have to depend on some other source for their food requirements. उसको हम क्या कहते हैं? Heterotrophic. Five kingdoms in which living world is divided are Monera will have unicellular prokaryotes. Protista will have unicellular eukaryotes. Fungi, non-chlorophyllous heterotrophic group, which may be unicellular and which may be multicellular. Plantae, purely chlorophyllous, means completely photosynthetic. And animals, which are completely heterotrophs, multicellular, most complex with organ systems, etc. That is we all. Okay. Five kingdom classification is based mainly on the following three main criteria: complexity of cell structure, whether it is prokaryotic or eukaryotic; complexity of cellular organization, whether it is unicellular or it is multicellular; mode of nutrition, whether it is autotrophic or heterotrophic. Other criteria includes ecological lifestyle, like are they producers, means are they going to be the ones which are going to be make the food available to this living world, or will they be consumers, or will they be decomposers? That is their role in the ecology. Then one more was reproduction and phylogenetic relationship. Now, what do you mean by the word phylogenetic? Phylogenetic means relationship from our ancestors. How are we connected with our ancestors? उसको हम कहते हैं phylogenetic relationship, ancestral relationship. Okay. In this way, 5-kingdom classification came into existence. So 2 kingdom was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus, which included plants and animals. 3 kingdom was proposed by Ernst Haeckel, which now included Protista. 4 kingdoms were by Copeland, which now included Monera. And 5 kingdom were put forward by R.H. Whitaker, which now included fungi. So we have got 5 kingdoms to be studied. That is Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae, animalia. Is it fine for this? So these are the differences between them, each of them. So you can see very clearly, this is a very simplified version of your NCERT. Cell type, Monera is the only one which is prokaryotic. From Protista onwards, all are eukaryotes. You can see, all are eukaryotic. Only Monera is having prokaryotic cell. Cell wall, non-cellular, means not made up of cellulose. Monera has got a cell wall, but it is not made up of cellulose. Rather, it is made up of polysaccharides plus amino acid, जिसको हम क्या कहते हैं? Peptidoglycan. What we call it as? Peptidoglycan. Peptido means amino acid, glycan means sugar. Okay. Protista cell wall present in some. Now, why present in some? Why not present in all? Or why not absent in all? Very simple, but Protista is going to be a group of plants also and animals also, which have been picked up from plants which were unicellular and from animals which were unicellular. So the unicellular plant-like organisms will have a cell wall, but unicellular animal-like organisms will not have a cell wall. So present in some, absent in some. Fungi, present, but it is without cellulose. It is made up of chitin, CHITIN. Just now I told you. Plantae, it is present and it is made up of cellulose. Animals do not have a cell wall. We know this, right? Nuclear membrane. If you see, prokaryotes do not have a nucleus. Eukaryotes have a nucleus. So those who do not have a nucleus will not have a membrane also. So only Monera will not have a nuclear membrane. Otherwise, everyone will have a nuclear membrane. Right? Body organization, cellular, cellular. That means it is unicellular and unicellular. But this is unicellular prokaryotic. This is unicellular eukaryotic. Right? Fungi, they are made up of loose multicellular tissue. And plantae will have tissue and organs, but they don't have organ systems. While animals have got tissue, organ and organ systems together. Okay. Mode of nutrition, autotrophic. That is, they could be chemosynthetic or photosynthetic. When they derive energy from solar radiation, it is photosynthesis. When they derive energy from any other chemical reaction taking place in nature, it will be called as chemosynthetic. Okay. So autotrophic could be chemosynthetic or photosynthetic. They could be heterotrophic, directly dependent on the other organism for nutrition. They could be saprophyte, they could be parasites. So Monera are the ones which are having the most diversified mode of nourishment. Most diversified. तो कुछ भी करके वो खाना वो बनाएंगे या खाएंगे या डायरेक्ट डाइजेस्टेड ले लेंगे लेकिन जिंदा रहेंगे. That is the speciality of all the Monerans. Okay. Protista, plant-like protist would be autotrophic, that is photosynthetic, and animal-like protist would be heterotrophic. Okay. Fungi, always and always they are saprophytic or parasitic. Fungal infection होते हैं, आपको पता है fungal infection? कभी सुने आपने फंगल इन्फेक्शन? रेनी सीजन में हमारे जो पैर होते हैं उनके बीच में ऐसे जो फिंगर्स हैं उनके बीच में इधर है ना, ऐसे पैरों के फिंगर्स में व्हाइट कलर का एक ये बन जाता है, इन्फेक्शन हो जाता है. इट बिकम्स वेरी इरिटेटिंग, बहुत खुजली आती है वहां पर. इट्स अ फंगल इन्फेक्शन. Dandruff. People have got the problem of dandruff. What is dandruff? It's a fungal infection. What do you mean by fungal infection? It's the fungi who are parasites on our scalp and they cause that irritation and loosening our dermal and epidermal tissues. That is your parasitic fungi. You have got heterotrophic fungi, that is mushrooms. If you eat mushrooms, or at least you have seen the mushrooms, what are they? They're fungi. And they are saprophytic, means living on dead and decaying matter. So even during this rainy season, you might see certain fungi cropping up here and there in your areas because they survive on dead and decaying matter. Okay. Plant is autotrophic, completely photosynthetic in nature, and animals heterotrophic, which could be holozoic or saprophytic. Holozoic का मतलब क्या है? The one who ingest food. Ingest means खाते हैं. Okay, who ingest food, digest food, and egest food. So ingestion plus digestion plus egation. Egation means throwing out unwanted food. हाँ, उसको हम कहते हैं egation. So we eat food, we digest the food, and we throw away the undigested food in the form of stools. So we are the best example of holozoic type of nourishment. So majority of kingdom Animalia is going to have heterotrophic holozoic, but certain animals are also saprophytes. Is there any difficulty with whatever I have said till now? Anyone who is confused about any point? Sure about it? We'll go ahead. Now see over here, kingdom Monera. They can give rise, like these are the most simplest type of organisms which are यूनिसेलुलर प्रोकैरियोट्स. तो ये प्रोकैरियोट्स के इधर आ रहे हैं, आप देख सकते हो यहाँ पर लिखा है प्रोकैरियोट्स. ये लाइन के नीचे है बेटा, तो ये लाइन ऐसे इधर तक जा रही है, उसके नीचे these are your monerans which are prokaryotes. Some of them are going to have chemosynthesis being formed, but the monerans are also going to be performing photosynthesis. They are also be performing heterotrophism, that is absorption, and there is no one who will go ahead with ingestion, digestion and egation. इसलिए मोनेरा जो है ये सिर्फ 3 टाइप का नरिशमेंट ले रहा है, कीमोसिंथेटिक, फोटोसिंथेटिक एंड एब्जॉर्प्टिव. ठीक है, look at them. Second one, that is kingdom Protista. You can see kingdom Protista. They can, plant like protist can photosynthesize. Animal like protist can ingest, digest and egest, that is heterotrophic. And some of the protists which are fungi like protists are going to be showing absorption. So the protista which are photosynthetic will be called as producers. The protista who are going to be heterotrophic will be called as consumers, and the protista which are going to be showing absorptive mode of nourishment will be called as decomposers. Okay, so protista जो है ये तीनों से उनकी पहचान होती है. किंगडम प्लांट है, किंगडम प्लांट है ओनली फोटोसिंथेसिस. ओके, किंगडम एनिमेलिया only heterotrophy with respect to holozoic type of nourishment, and kingdom fungi only absorption. Kingdom fungi cannot do anything else, but they can only perform absorption of food. Correct? Even this diagram is given in your books, and you should know what is what. What is their major ecological role? Who are producers? Who are decomposers? Who are consumers? Mode of nutrition, complexity of organism, unicellular, multicellular, everything you need to know. Then came something called as the three domain system of classification or six kingdoms of classification. So five kingdom तो हमें पता है, अब six kingdom आ गया, ये देखो. So sixth kingdom was proposed by Carl Woese in the year 1990. So it's very recent, right? He classified organisms on the basis of genetic characters, particularly genetic analysis of 16S rRNA. So when I had talked about the ribosomes, the Palade particles, that time I had showed you that we have got a larger subunit and a smaller subunit of ribosome. And we have seen that the smaller subunit of ribosome in bacteria is going to be your 16S type. So, you know, this Carl Woese used the 16S type of rRNA for classifying the six kingdoms. Fine. So he has proposed three domains. Domains is something which is superior to kingdom. So in the living world, we have already seen that kingdom was the superior most. Now something above kingdom is going to be domain. So he's saying there are three domains, which are archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. He named the three domains as what? Archaea, bacteria, and eukarya. So domain is a taxonomic group of members of similar kingdoms. It is a category higher than kingdom. These six kingdoms are Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. So under these three domains, he had said that there are six classes. Microorganisms are found in four kingdoms, that is Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Protista, and Fungi. All the three domains have evolved from the common ancestor, which is called as the progenote. So what he said that let it be Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, Animalia, all have originated from the same common ancestor, which is called as the progenote. Progenote is nothing, it's our DNA. So all of these are going to be having DNA now. Let it be bacteria, let it be Protista, let it be fungi, anything. They've got the genetic material, which is nothing but DNA. Okay, that is called as the progenote over here by Carl Woese. Okay, so see, this is what he's saying, that domain bacteria, domain archaebacteria, and domain eukarya, all the eukaryotes, they all have developed from the common ancestors. So this is the common ancestor. इसका एक branch is bacteria, दूसरा branch is archaea, and तीसरा branch is eukaryote. Okay. So in this way, we understood that there are six kingdoms, but basically all six kingdoms में technically देखा जाए तो archaea है और eubacteria है, जो दोनों actually belonging to what? Monera. तो क्यों झमेला करने का और 6 चीजें पढ़ने की, 5 चीजें पढ़ लिए बस हो गए, है ना? Right? Well, so this is how kingdom Monera is going to be coming first to be understood. But kingdom Monera becomes very easy to understand because in cell unit of life, we have already done prokaryotic cell. So it becomes so simple now, एकदम easy हो जाएगा Monera समझना. But before I start with Monera, कोई difficulty है अब तक जो भी बताया उसमें? Is anyone having any difficulty, any problem? बताओ बेटा. Are you all following whatever is being told to you all? Fine. So now we come to kingdom Monera. Bacteria are the sole members of kingdom Monera. Means Monera will have only bacteria, बाकी कुछ भी नहीं है इसमें. They are the most abundant microbes. Bacteria occur almost everywhere. Therefore, we call them as ubiquitous. Ubiquitous means found everywhere. Hundreds of bacteria are present in handful of soil. They also live in extreme habitats such as hot springs, deserts, snow, deep oceans, where very few other life forms can survive. So bacteria can survive in any conditions, any harsh conditions. Some thermophilic bacteria can withstand temperature up to 78 degrees Celsius, while some cyclophilic bacteria occur in a temperature of minus 190 degrees Celsius. Look at the range. इतने लो टेम्परेचर से इतने हाई टेम्परेचर तक, है ना, बहुत अलग अलग टेम्परेचर पे ये लोग जी पाते हैं. Many of them live in other organisms or live on other organisms as parasites. The kingdom Monera is divided into two major groups, eubacteria, which are called as true bacteria, and archaebacteria, which are called as the primitive bacteria. So Monera is further classified into two groups, eubacteria and archaebacteria. So first we are going to talk about the eubacteria. See, there are thousands of different eubacteria or true bacteria. They are characterized by the presence of a rigid cell wall, and if motile, they may have a flagella. Bacteria are grouped under four categories based on their shape. They are called as foci if they are spherical in shape. They'll be called as bacilli if they are rod shaped. And they'll be called as vibrio if there are comma shaped. While they'll be called as spirulum if they are spiral in shape. So you can see the shapes. Look at this. Spherical, rod-like, having spores, spiral, having flagella, and comma shape. These are going to be your vibrio. So only four types of eubacteria are found in this nature. Which are the four types? Foci, bacilli, spirelia, vibrio. Okay. Any difficulty with the shapes and their morphology? Easy na? Good. Focus का मतलब होता है berry. They are spherical, aflagellate. Focus will never have a flagella. They are subdivided into 6 groups on the basis of cell arrangement. So how are the cells arranged? So if they are single, scattered anywhere and everywhere, we call it as single focus. Okay. If they are diploids, we'll be calling them as diplofocus. So they are in pairs. See, they'll always be in pairs. Two के pairs में रहेंगे. If they are in a group of 4, what we call them as? We call them as tetracoccus. If they are cube-like in shape, we call them as sarcina. If they are going to be found in chains, we call them as streptococci. And if they appear like a cluster of grapes, it will be called as staphylococci. So these shapes are very important along with the names. These names are not given in your textbooks, but you know, they'll ask you questions on these. So monococcus, Staphylococcus, Tetracoccus, Sarcina, Streptococcus, Staphylococcus. ये समझा? The diagrams are also there in front of you for understanding. Anyone having any problem with this? Easy? Then we come to the second one, that is bacilli. Rod-like or cylindrical forms, either singly or maybe arranged differently. These are generally flagellated and are of the following types. Monobacillus, single bacilli scattered anywhere. Diplobacillus, if they are arranged in twos, just like how we had Diplococcus. So you can see over here, see, Diplobacilli in twos. Palisade bacillus, like a matchstick. They appear like matchsticks in a matchbox. So these are lined side by side like matchsticks. Streptobacillus, these, the bacilli which are to be found in chains. Okay, they do not have Staphylobacillus. Okay, so Monobacillus, Diplobacillus, Palisade bacillus, Streptobacillus. For Spirulum and Vibrio, there is nothing like that. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Okay. Let's come to the cell structure of eubacteria, which is very simple because we have done this already. A bacterial cell is covered by mucilage. The cell is differentiated into cell wall, plasma membrane, cytoplasm, nucleoid, plasmid, flagella, villi, fimbriae. ये सारे इस बैक्टीरिया के पार्ट्स है. Mucilage, cell wall, and plasma membrane are together called as cell envelope. Cell envelope is made up of what? It's a common question that they ask you. What is it? Cell wall, plasma membrane, and mucilage, or the glycocalyx as we call it. The first is going to be the mucilage or the glycocalyx, which is going to be the outermost layer of bacteria. It is the outermost coat of bacterial cells, which is rich in polysaccharides. A loose sheath is called slime layer, while a thick and tougher mucilage will be called as capsule. This we have already done, so I'm sure you know this. It protects the cell against the desiccation and viral attack. Desiccation का मतलब होता है drying up. तो अगर mucilage है, अगर capsule है, तो bacterial cell dry नहीं हो जाएगी. Fine. And will also be prevented from viral attacks. So that particular bacterial cell will be prevented from getting attacked with viruses. Okay. Here, just look at this figure. Of course, we'll be coming to this again and again. Just have a look at it. This is your bacterial chromosome. Correct? You can see this. These are the villi. You can see these villi coming out from inside to the outside. They are the ribosomes of 70S type. Food granule, you can see this yellow colored. Prokaryotic flagellum, I'll talk more on this. Plasmids, double-stranded, extra chromosomal, circular, DNA structures. We call as plasmids, जो मैं आगे और बताऊंगी. Then we have got this liquid cytoplasm or a jelly-like cytoplasm, and capsule, slime or slime layer, cell wall, and plasma membrane. ये तीनों मिलाकर इसका cell envelope कहा जाता है. Correct? For this, so after mucilage, we go ahead with the cell wall. It is present outside the cell membrane and is a rigid structure. It is made up of peptidoglycan, also called as murine or mucopeptide. Now this again, as I say, we have done this in cell unit of life, so this should not make a problem. The peptidoglycan consists of two components. Peptido means peptide component, glycan means sugar component. Okay. The glycan portion is composed of alternating units of amino sugar, N-acetyl glucosamine and N-acetyl muramic acid. So NAG and NAM. It's alternate range. So NAG, NAM, NAG, NAM, NAG, NAM, NAG, NAM. ऐसा पूरा एक circular round बनता है. They are joined by beta-1,4 glycosidic linkages. This forms the backbone structure of the cell wall. The mucopeptide chains are later joined by amino acids for structural rigidity. Now this NAM and NAG अकेले रहेंगे तो they will collapse ना. They should have some connection. They should have some bridge. So this bridge, this connection will be established by whom? The amino acids. Okay. So how does this happen? You understood NAM and NAG. Now we come to a very important concept, that is gram-positive bacterium and gram-negative bacterium. So my dears, please pay good attention to this. This is not given in your books and भर के questions आपके exams में आते रहते हैं. So let us understand about the gram-positive and the gram-negative bacteria. Christian Gram was a scientist who developed a stain for staining bacteria, which is called as Gram stain. So why the name Gram, समझा? The name of the scientist is Mr. Gram. Okay. On the basis of stainability with gram stain, bacteria are classified into two groups, gram positive and gram negative. The procedure involves staining of bacterial smear first with weakly alkaline solution of crystal violet or methyl violet or gentian violet. Generally, we use crystal violet. So what do? We take a glass slide. I hope you have seen the slides under the microscope. आपके स्कूल में आपके टीचर्स ने आपको दिखाए होंगे परमानेंट स्लाइड्स. देखे आपने स्कूल में माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे? Have you all ever seen or not? Have your school people shown you or not during your school days? फोकस करके रखते थे माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे, आपको जाके ऑब्जर्व करके आना है. ऐसे कभी किया था कि नहीं किया था? No? None of you all? You had never seen a slide? Oh my God. Seriously? You are lazy to answer me. Come on, come on. Answer my question, beta. Never seen? Great. If you have never seen, then put a no. If you have seen, put a yes. You don't want to answer only today. Why? What's wrong? Why you don't want to answer any yes or no's also? Am I asking you something very difficult? Huh? Anyway, so you have to take a glass slide. You have to put the bacteria in the center of the slide, and you have to just make a uniform paste of it. Okay? और फिर वो जो एक सेंटर ऑफ द स्लाइड पे जो एक आप बनाते हो ना बैक्टीरिया का, उसको हम कहते हैं स्मीयर. क्या कहते हैं? स्मीयर कहते हैं. So they are saying that you have to stain the smear of the bacteria. All the bacteria stains blue in color because crystal violet is blue in color, so violet in color. These blue stained cells are then treated with 5% iodine or Lugol solution or Ki solution, potassium iodide solution, and washed with 95% alcohol or acetone. Okay. The bacteria which retain the original blue-purple color even after washing with ethyl alcohol will be called as gram-positive bacteria. Those which lose the stain and get decolorized after treatment with alcohol will be called as gram-negative bacteria. तो जब आपने ये किया, आपने स्मीयर बनाया, क्रिस्टल वॉयलेट डाला, पोटेशियम आयोडाइड सोल्यूशन डाला, फिर आपने वो स्लाइड को वॉश किया और आपने माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे देखा, तो अगर आपको पर्पल कलर के बैक्टीरिया दिखाई देते हैं, दैट मीन्स दे आर ग्राम पॉजिटिव. अगर आपको कलरलेस चीजें दिखाई देती है, आपको कोई कलर नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है, मतलब इट इज ग्राम नेगेटिव. बट कुछ भी नहीं दिखना, ये भी एक प्रॉब्लम है. तो हम क्या करते बेटा, ऐसी जो स्लाइड है ना, उसको हम सेकेंड स्टेन अप्लाई करके वापस कलर करते हैं. बट दैट सेकेंड स्टेन इज अ काउंटर स्टेन, मीन्स वी अप्लाई or we flood that entire slide with safranin, which is red in color, basic fuchsin dye, which is pink in color. तो हमें पर्पल कलर और पिंक कलर या पर्पल कलर एंड रेड कलर इजीली दिखाई दे. The gram positive bacteria के सेल में the cell wall has very little lipid content. Therefore, very little stain leaks out of their walls in solvent. In gram-negative bacteria, the cell wall has high lipid content. Lipid content is in the form of lipopolysaccharide layer. The same dissolves the organic solvent, taking out the stain along with it. The decolorized gram-negative bacteria may therefore be stained with safranin or eosine, which are red in color. So what happens? See, what is the principle of this gram staining? That this is going to be the So this is the gram negative, this is the gram positive. So look at this. It has got a lipoprotein का layer. Can you see this? लिपोप्रोटीन का लेयर है ये, एंड ये पेप्टिडोग्लाइकैन का लेयर है. और यहाँ पर ये देखो लिपोप्रोटीन कैसे बीच बीच में है. तो जब हम अल्कोहल से वॉश करते हैं ना, तो अल्कोहल इधर आता है और सारा लिपिड को डिसॉल्व कर ले जाता है. तो यहाँ इधर से ऊपर की तरफ सारा का सारा जो स्टेन है, क्रिस्टल वॉयलेट है, वो बाहर आ जाएगा. करेक्ट. यहाँ पर लिपोप्रोटीन है ही नहीं, देयर इज नो लिपोप्रोटीन ओवर हियर. तो अगर लिपिड ही नहीं है तो अल्कोहल किसको डिसॉल्व करेगा, राइट? तो इधर जो आके बैठा है ना, इधर जो आके क्रिस्टल वॉयलेट आके बैठा है ना, उसको कोई नहीं बाहर निकाल सकता है. लेकिन इधर लिपिड के लेयर में क्रिस्टल वॉयलेट जो चिपका पड़ा है, वो तो वॉश आउट हो जाएगा. ओके, सो दैट इज द significance that gram negative have got an LPS layer, an extra layer of lipopolysaccharide, which is going to get washed away by ethyl alcohol, and therefore these gram negative bacteria will not retain the gram stain and thus will be called as gram negative. For this, gram negative and gram positive. Henceforth, I'll be only talking about ग्राम पॉजिटिव ये है, ग्राम नेगेटिव वो है, इतना ही मैं बात करूंगी. So please understand what is gram positive, what is gram negative. The next one is the cell membrane. It is living and selectively permeable, controlling the movements of various dissolved substances in and out of the cell. It is composed of large amounts of phospholipids, proteins, and some amounts of polysaccharides, but they lack cholesterol-like stereols of the human or eukaryotic membrane. So in cell unit of life, we had already seen eukaryotic membrane, cell membrane, which was having cholesterol. Prokaryotes will not have cholesterol. Cell membrane gets invaginated and folded to form a structure called as mesosome in bacteria, particularly the gram-positive one. So here you can see in this diagram over here, my viewers. ये देखो, can you see? ये cell wall है, ये cell membrane है. Can you see this finger-like projections? ये देखो, that is the folding of the cell membrane. So this folding of the cell membrane will be called as what? Mesosomes. Mesosome is of two types, septal and lateral. Septal means center में, lateral means बाजू में. Septal mesosomes remain in contact with the nucleoid, that is the DNA of the bacteria, while peripheral or lateral mesosome is not attached to the nucleoid. Septal mesosome replicates with the replication of nucleoids, taking part in separation of the replicated nucleoids and help in septum formation. So you can see very well over here. ये जो है ये पेरिफेरल है, ये जो है ये सेप्टल है. अब ये ऐसे डिवाइड होके इस सेल को दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड कराकर वन सेल का टू सेल बनाएगा by the process of amitosis. So you all have already sat for my cell cycle cell division chapter, in which you know that we had done in the beginning only amitosis, then mitosis, and then meiosis. Okay. Yeah. Septal mesosome replicates the replication of nucleoids, takes part in the separation of replicated nucleoids, and helps in septum formation. Septum means a cross wall formation to make two compartments. Lateral mesosome contains respiratory enzymes. It is also called as chondrioid. So then if that central one is taking place in cell division, what is the use of the peripheral one? So the peripheral ones is going to be involved in storing enzymes required for respiration of the bacteria. Okay. Third one is the cytoplasm. It is homogeneous colloidal mass of carbohydrates, fats, proteins, lipids, nucleic acid, minerals, water, all will be included in the cytoplasm. The various components of cytoplasm are as follows. Ribosomes, large number of ribosomes will be there. 20,000 to 30,000 ribosomes are present in the prokaryotic cell. They lie scattered freely in the cytoplasm, but sometimes they form helical chains of 4 to 6 ribosomes called as polyribosomes or polysomes. So you might have seen sometimes outside out your window if you have peeped up, अगर कोई वायर जा रही है ना, कोई वायर जा रही है एक बिल्डिंग से दूसरे बिल्डिंग की तरफ, तो उस वायर पे बहुत सारे क्रोज बैठते हैं, देखा है आपने? There are so many crows who sit on that same wire. Huh? So that way na, one mRNA molecule will have many ribosomes attached to it. तो ऐसे एक ना एक वायर के ऊपर 10 क्रो बैठे हैं तो कैसा वाला सीन दिखेगा? समथिंग लाइक दैट ये सीन दिखता है। एक ही आरएनए के ऊपर बहुत सारे राइबोसोम्स चिपके हुए हैं, इसको हम कहते हैं पॉलीसोम्स या पॉलीराइबोसोम्स। फाइन। On mRNA strand, that is messenger RNA strand. Ribosomes of 70S type, in case of prokaryotes, they have two subunits, 50 and 30. Now, आपके दिमाग में आएगा 50 plus 30 should have been 80. But I have already told you about the Schwarzschild constant, sedimentation coefficient in the chapter of cell unit of life. So I'm sure now you know that 50 plus 30 in case of ribosomes won't be 80, rather it is going to be 70. Ribosomes are of 70S type, the two subunits are 50 and 30. The next thing that is going to be present in the cytoplasm is going to be the inclusion bodies. They are non-living, non-structural materials which lie free in the cytoplasm. These are of three types. Food reserves, they will reserve the food in the form of glycogen or protein. Inorganic granules, they will store volutin, sulfur. Volutin means phosphorus, phosphate granules. So phosphate granule, sulfur granule, जो भी extra है ना, they will store it in the form of inclusion bodies. They may also have gas vacuoles, which is also one of the inclusion bodies. Everything will be scattered in the cytoplasm of bacteria. The gas vacuoles are useful in maintaining buoyancy and keeping a regulation and protection against harmful radiations. So ये सारे के सारे important चीजें बेटा बैक्टीरिया के सेल के अंदर क्या क्या होता है उसकी लिस्ट है। Third thing that they will have is the photosynthetic pigment. We know that bacteria are phototrophic as well as chemotrophic. So phototrophic matlab they can convert solar energy into chemical energy. By whom? Which pigments? So see, they have bacteriochlorophyll, bacteriophyophytin, carotenoids. Bacteriochlorophyll. So the chlorophyll present in bacteria. ठीक है? In purple sulfur bacteria, the pigments are associated with the thylakoid membrane. They are formed by invaginations of plasma membrane. So those mesosomes that we had seen earlier, they may also contain these photosynthetic pigments which are going to be seen in photosynthetic bacteria like sulfur bacteria. So you have got green sulfur bacteria, purple sulfur bacteria. Okay. In green sulfur bacteria, the photosynthetic pigment occurs inside small sacs called as क्लोरोसोम्स। क्या है ये क्लोरोसोम्स? कुछ नहीं है, वो प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन के फोल्डिंग के वजह से जो पोटलियां बन रही है ना, उसका नाम है क्लोरोसोम्स। okay, then we have got something called as a nuclear body. So bacterial cell lacks a well organized nucleus. The nuclear material consisting of a single naked circular double stranded DNA is identified as nuclear body, nucleoid, genophore, incipient nucleus. अलग अलग नाम है बैक्टीरिया के डीएनए के, all are the same. All are the same. It is attached to the plasma membrane directly or with the help of the mesosomes. So sometimes the mesosomes are going to be connected with the bacterial chromosome. Circular DNA ring is often termed as bacterial chromosome, also called as prochromosome. It is not associated with histone proteins. So in cell unit of life, you have already seen that there are 8 histone proteins which make the octamer, on which the E. coli का octamer हमने देखा था. अब E. coli बोल रही, यूकैरियोटिक सेल हमने octamer देखा था, जिसमें 1 and 3/4 DNA कॉइल हुआ था, है ना. मैंने आपको डायग्राम भी दिखाया था, यूक्रोमैटिन एंड हेटेरोक्रोमैटिन. If you do recollect all these things. Well, so in prokaryotes we do not have these histone octamers. Only in eukaryotes होता है. Then we come across with the word called as plasmid. They are small, self-replicating, autonomous, extra-chromosomal, single, circular DNA present in the cytoplasm. So here in this diagram, you can very well see this is the bacterial chromosome and this is the plasmid chromosome. Okay, तो ये प्लाज्मिड इतना छोटू है, देखो यहाँ पर एक्चुअली दिखाई भी नहीं दे रहा है, और ये बैक्टीरियल क्रोमोसोम है इतना बड़ा. What is the role of plasmids? They endow some extra properties to bacteria which are often useful but not essential for their living. So है, अच्छी बात है. नहीं है तभी बैक्टीरिया को इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, लेकिन है तो एडेड बेनिफिट. If plasmids are there, then there is an added benefit. Why? Let us see. Three forms of plasmids are present in bacteria. The first is called as F plasmid, having fertility factor, which will be helping in reproduction. F plasmid is going to help in reproduction. R plasmid, having resistance to antibiotics. So sometimes, we take a lot of antibiotics, but still we are not cured of our infection. Probably the bacteria which is present in our body has got a plasmid which is resistant to that particular antibiotic. समझा? तो आपने कितना भी मेडिसिन लिया ना, फिर भी आप ठीक नहीं होते. That is for imparting antibiotic resistance to the body. Third is called plasmid, producing collicines or bacteriocines that kill related bacteria. Matlab one bacteria will kill other bacteria, not allow the other bacteria to occupy the same area, same space, same resources. It's not going to allow it to use the same things. So, for example, streptococcus is growing in my throat. Okay. And if there is a staphylococcus infection, I mean, even staphylococcus wants to infect me. The streptococcus, if it is having col plasmid, will start killing the staphylococcus, not allowing it to grow in my throat. Okay, that is called as collicine. That is one bacteria killing other bacteria. So this is only possible by the help of plasmid. So suppose this plasmid has got a gene where F fertility factor is present, then it will be called as F plus, and so on. Then we saw that certain bacteria are motile. So if they are motile, they are going to have flagella. Flagella, these are fine protoplasmic threads projecting from the cell wall. Each flagellum is made up of 3 parts: basal body, hook, and filament. Here you can see this LPSM. ये दिखाई दे रहा है आपको? ये पूरे पार्ट को मिलाकर हम कहते हैं बेसल बॉडी. फिर ये जो ट्विस्टेड एंड टर्न्ड ऐसे 190 डिग्री के एंगल पे जो एक टर्न दिखाई दे रहा है आपको, ये वाला, दिस विल बी कॉल्ड एज द हुक. एंड हुक के अंदर से ये जो एक पतला सा सिलेंडर बाहर आ रहा है ना, इट विल बी कॉल्ड एज द फिलामेंट. सो बेसल बॉडी, हुक, and filament are the 3 parts of bacterial flagella. Hook is in the middle curved part of the flagella. Filament is the longest and the most of this portion of flagella. तो ये जो है ना, ये इधर इतनी दिखाई है, लेकिन ये एक्चुअली बहुत बड़ी होती है। इसकी फिलामेंट जो होती है, उसको टेल नहीं बोलते हैं, उसको फिलामेंट बोलते हैं। तो एग्जाम में अगर 3 पार्ट्स आया ना, तो हुक, बेसल बॉडी एंड टेल, ऐसे नहीं मार्क करना। इट इज कॉल्ड एज फिलामेंट. Flagella is made up of specific proteins called as flagellin. So in bacteria, the protein which is going to help in making this flagella is flagellin. ठीक है? Depending upon the presence and absence, number and position, following types of flagellar arrangements have been seen among different bacteria. Atrichus, flagella absent. Monotrichus, a single flagella. Cephalotrichus, a tuft of flagella at one end. So here you can see in this diagram, very clearly you can see here, no flagella, atrichus. Single flagella, monotrichus. A tuft of flagella, cephalotrichus. Single flagella on each side, amphitrichus. Tuft of flagella on both the sides, lophotrichus. And flagella uniformly distributed all over the body, peritrichus. So atrichus, monotrichus, cephalotrichus, amphitrichus, lophotrichus, and peritrichus are the 7 different types of flagellar arrangements seen in different types of bacteria. You did not remember the examples of these. Lactobacillus is the one which is found in milk and dahi, lassi, buttermilk. उसमें जो bacteria मिलता है ना, that is lactobacillus. It does not have a flagella, that you know. But बाकी सबके नाम नहीं याद रखोगे ना तो भी चलेगा, बस कौन क्या है ना ये याद रखना. In your examinations ना, they give match the following, and on one side they give these names and on the other side they give the flagella का arrangement. So you should be capable of finding out what is what. ठीक है? Understood? Okay. Then along with flagella, the bacterial cell will also have villi. Now what is this villi? These are hollow, non-helical, filamentous appendages projecting from the walls of gram-negative bacteria. Generally, they are thinner and shorter than the flagella. They are made up of specific protein called as filin. Flagella was flagellin. Villi is filin. Okay. Villi help in the attachment of the bacterial cells during conjugation. So conjugation is the process of bringing 2 cells together, forming a bridge in between them, and passing of the plasmid from one bacterium to another bacterium. तो ये जो ब्रिज फॉर्म करता है, ये दोनों बैक्टीरिया को कनेक्ट करने वाला जो ब्रिज है वो पिलाई का बना रहता है. So they help in reproduction is what is known to us. Okay. And then they also have got something called as fimbriae. Fimbriae का मतलब होता है finger-like projections. Fine. They are small bristle-like, finger-like fibers which develop from the surface of the bacterial cell. They are quite in numbers, so they can be 300 to 400 per cell. They take part in attachment, mutual aggregation, or attachment to the host tissue. So what happens, like sometimes है ना, हमें infection होता है, देखो गले का throat infection होता है, और वो throat infection इतना irritating होता है ना कि आपने उसको बाहर से कितना भी ऐसे करने की कोशिश की ना, you're not happy. You feel that you have to put your hand inside and scratch your throat. ऐसा वाला feeling आया है कभी आपको? Have you all ever experienced that? You feel like putting your hand deep into the throat and scratching it from inside. Itna irritation है. So why this happens? Because the bacteria which have infected your throat are having fimbriae. So they have caught the throat ka tissues with their fimbriae. ओके और इसीलिए वो जितना डीप और डीप और डीप जाना चाहते हैं ना, वो फिमरिए से उतना आपको और ज्यादा खुजली होने लगती है, गले में खराश होने लगती है ना. So that is because the bacterial infection that has infected you is having fimbriae. So they help in attaching to the tissues of the host where they are going to make an infection. Okay. So all these are the contents of bacterial cell, eubacterial cell. Okay. Then we come to the reproduction part of these bacteria. So see, bacteria reproduces mainly by vegetative and asexual methods of reproduction. They also reproduce by a sort of sexual reproduction by adopting a primitive type of DNA transfer from one bacterium to another. Now, please, my dear, in bacteria technically अगर देखा जाए तो sexual reproduction करके कुछ नहीं होता है. But what is sexual reproduction? Ultimately, sexual reproduction is fusion of gametes, है ना? Now, when these two gametes fuse, what will happen? Their cytoplasm will fuse, and their nuclei will fuse, and their chromosomes will come together. So that DNA material will come together. Agreed? Even in bacteria, what happens? They तो unicellular prokaryotic सबसे simple organisms है. इनमें किधर आएंगे reproductive structures and blah blah blah? कुछ नहीं होगा इनमें. But just because the two cells come together and there is exchange of DNA, we call it as sexual reproduction. तो ऐसा कोई मेजॉरिटी जैसे कॉम्प्लेक्स ऑर्गेनिजम्स में सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन का एक इवेंट होता है, वैसे इनमें कुछ नहीं. ओके. Vegetative reproduction, it takes place by binary fission and budding. You already know what is binary fission and budding. Sometimes under unfavorable conditions, they produce spores, which are called as endospores. Endo means inside. So these bacteria, they will make a surrounding, thick surrounding near their bacterial chromosome. और उस क्रोमोसोम के ऊपर है ना 2, 3, 4 लेयर का ऐसा एक है ना ककून के जैसा वो बनाते हैं. तो सिर्फ डीएनए को बचाते हैं, बाकी सारा साइटोप्लाज्म जो है ना वो डिग्रेड हो जाता है क्योंकि कंडीशंस आर नॉट फेवरेबल. लेकिन ये ककून किधर बना? अंदर की तरफ बना, बाहर से कवरिंग नहीं हुआ. डीएनए को बाहर से कवरिंग मिला, सेल को बाहर से कवरिंग नहीं मिला. तो सेल के अंदर ये ककून बन रहा है, इसलिए उसको हम कहते हैं एंडोस्पोर. ओके. So this is the vegetative reproduction part as seen in bacteria. Then we come to something called as sexual reproduction, which is nothing but genetic recombination. Typical sexual reproduction is absent in bacteria because of absence of haploid diploid alternation. But gene recombination occurs by 3 methods: conjugation, transformation, and transduction. So first we'll talk about conjugation, जो यहाँ पर आपको दिखाई दे रहा है. You can see this bacteria who is having these hair-like projections, which are nothing but, ये देखो, ये दिखाई दे रहे हैं आपको, right? Which are nothing but your पिलाई. ये जो है बैक्टीरिया, इसको पिलाई नहीं है. तो ये पिलाई ने इधर एक ब्रिज बनाया. Can you see this bridge? This bridge is called as conjugation bridge. Okay. So see, conjugation is coming together of two cells and involves transfer of genetic material from one bacterium to another through cell to cell contact. So you can see this purple color का genetic material है, actually ये plasmid है purple color का, और ये blue color का जो अंदर की तरफ है ये genetic material है. But plasmid क्या है? Plasmid is also a piece of DNA only ना. So see, this plasmid is moving from this bacterial cell onto this bacterial cell. Can you see? Via this bridge which is formed. So this is called as conjugation. It was first discovered in E. coli by Lederberg and Tatton. So ये देखो. Okay. So first method is conjugation. सेकेंड मेथड इज ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. क्या होता है देखो, it is the change in the genetic constitution of a bacterium by picking genes of its dead relatives present in outside medium and integrated the same into the nucleoid. Transformation was discovered by Griffith. Now see what has happened, beta. This is a bacteria having red color ka DNA. This is a bacterium having blue color का DNA. करेक्ट. अब रेड कलर के बैक्टीरियम को किल कराया है. वी हैव किल्ड द रेड कलर का बैक्टीरिया एंड देयरफॉर रेड डीएनए के पीसेस हो गए. जब हम बैक्टीरिया को किल कराते हैं बाय बॉइलिंग और हीटिंग तो क्या हो जाएगा, डीएनए विल गेट डीनेचर्ड. तो डीएनए टुकड़ों टुकड़ों में बढ़ जाएगा. अब उस टुकड़ों में जहां जहां ये पीसेस ऑफ रेड डीएनए है उस मीडियम में अगर हमने अब ये ब्लू डीएनए वाले ऑर्गेनिज्म को ग्रो कराने को स्टार्ट किया तो व्हाट विल दिस ब्लू ऑर्गेनिज्म डू, यू नो, it will pick up this red pigments and make it a part of its own DNA. So you can see a piece of red and blue over here. So now what will happen, ये red के जो qualities थे वो blue में आ गए. So the blue got transformed to function as the red वाला DNA. So इसीलिए उसको हम क्या कहते हैं, transformation. So it is picking up of the pieces of genes from the dead relative in the medium where the other relative is growing. इस process को हम कहते हैं transformation. ठीक है, कोई difficulty है transformation में? Anyone having any problem, any difficulty with this? Can I go ahead? Since we have got no difficulties. Okay, then we go ahead with transduction. It is the process of carrying over genes from one bacterium to another bacterium through the agency of viruses. So virus will act like a postman. They will transform the DNA of one particular bacterium into another bacterium. ठीक है? Transduction was observed by Zinder and Lederberg. तो ये देखो, ये वायरस है बेटा, ये वायरस है जिसने बैक्टीरिया को डोनेट किया और ये वाला जो है ये रेसिपिएंट बैक्टीरियम क्रोमोसोम है. So this will accept this piece over here and pink and blue together will start growing in this bacteria. इसको हम क्या कहते हैं? What we call this as transduction. So it is using the virus. DNA from one bacterium will be picked up and discharged into another bacterium. So conjugation, transformation, and transduction. These are the three methods of sexual reproduction seen in eubacteria. ठीक है, समझा? Well, then we come to cyanobacteria. This is also Monera only. Cyanobacteria is also Monera. Okay. Cyanobacteria or photosynthetic autotrophic bacteria. Cyanobacteria, they are also called as blue-green algae. Cyano means blue. Bacteria means rods. Or they are called as blue-green algae are gram-negative photosynthetic prokaryotes, being the most primitive organisms to have oxygenic photosynthesis. Now, what do you mean by the word oxygenic photosynthesis? Photosynthesis accompanied by the liberation of oxygen is called as oxygenic photosynthesis. इसका मतलब है कोई ऐसे भी ऑर्गेनिजम्स है जो फोटोसिंथेसिस तो करते हैं लेकिन ऑक्सीजन एज अ बाय प्रोडक्ट रिलीज नहीं करते. ठीक है, तो पर्पल सल्फर बैक्टीरिया, ग्रीन सल्फर बैक्टीरिया, ये जो अभी हमने देखे ना यू बैक्टीरिया में, ये बंदे ऑटोट्रॉपिक थे, फोटोसिंथेटिक थे, but they were not releasing oxygen into the atmosphere. Now, why don't they release oxygen in the atmosphere will be definitely taught to you all in the coming lectures of photosynthesis chapter. Okay, but cyanobacteria जो है, they were the first ones, or they are called as the pioneers of oxygenic photosynthesis. Means when they photosynthesize, they give out oxygen. The first one, please remember this point. They are the most successful and self-dependent organisms on the earth and survived successfully for more than 3 billion years. Even today, we have got cyanobacteria. They were the first to add oxygen to the atmosphere, which is indispensable for the existence of aerobic forms of living organisms. So we cannot survive without oxygen, of course, now. Red Sea is named because of abundant occurrence of planktonic cyanobacteria called as Trichodesmium erythraeum, which imparts red color to the water. तो ये जो ट्राइकोडेस्मियम एरिथ्रियम नाम का जो साइनोबैक्टीरिया है ना, उसके वजह से पूरी सी रेड कलर की दिखाई देती है, इसलिए उसका नाम ही है रेड सी. So the red sea का red color is due to whom? It is due to the cyanobacteria, which is red in color, जिसका नाम है Trichodesmium erythraeum. Okay, this one. Don't forget this name, very important. Cyanobacteria have chlorophyll A, similar to green plants, and photosynthetic autotrophs. Cyanobacteria are unicellular, colonial or filamentous, freshwater or marine or terrestrial algae. ये देखो बेटा, ये है ना, ये एक एक इंडिविजुअल सेल्स हैं इसके, बट ये देखो कैसे चेन में कॉलोनी में रह रहे हैं सब सारे के सारे. So they all are staying in one colony. We call them as colonial. The colonies are generally surrounded by a gelatinous sheet. You can see this mucilaginous or gelatinous sheet. ये blue color का एक उसके ऊपर gelatin के जैसा एक covering है ना? They often form blooms in polluted water bodies. So algal blooms नाम आपने सुना होगा, and predominantly algal blooms are actually blue-green algal blooms. That is going to be your cyanobacterial blooms. Some of these organisms can fix atmospheric nitrogen in specialized cells called as heterocysts. Example, nostoc and Anabaena. Here you can see this heterocyst. तो ये सेल क्या करेगा पता है, नाइट्रोजन फिक्सेशन के लिए ना एनारोबिक कंडीशंस की जरूरत होती है. अब ये खुद ऑक्सीजन दे रहा है, ये सेल्स खुद ऑक्सीजन लिबरेट कर रहा है, तो फिर वो एनारोबिक कैसे बन जाएगा, है ना? इसीलिए एक कॉलोनी के कुछ 2-3 सेल्स निकल आते हैं जो अपना फोटोसिंथेसिस बंद करा देते हैं, तो खुद फोटोसिंथेसिस अंडरगो नहीं करेंगे. तो जब वो फोटोसिंथेसिस ही नहीं अंडरगो करेंगे तो ऑक्सीजन लिबरेशन का पॉइंट ही नहीं है, राइट? एंड दे बिकम एनारोबिक, and once they become anaerobic, they can fix atmospheric nitrogen for the entire colony to use it. तो ये पूरी कॉलोनी ये नाइट्रोजन जो फिक्स किया गया है ये दो हेटेरोसिस के मीडियम से वो यूज कर सकते हैं. तो व्हाट आर हेटेरोसिस? Heterocysts are special cells in the colony of cyanobacteria which are capable of fixing atmospheric nitrogen. समझा? Clear? Then we come with, so that's all with your cyanobacteria. तो eubacteria हमने complete किया, cyanobacteria हमने complete किया. Let us look at the chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria. Means they are going to derive energy from the chemical reactions, not from the solar radiation, right? Chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria oxidizes various inorganic substances such as nitrates, nitrites, ammonia, and use the released energy for their ATP production. Okay, they play a great role in recycling nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, sulfur. तो इनके जो recycling होती रहती है ना, इनमें बहुत सारे कीमोसिंथेटिक ऑटोट्रोफिक बैक्टीरिया काम में आते हैं. तो मिनरल न्यूट्रिशन करके एक हमें चैप्टर है जहाँ हमें आगे देखना है कि हाउ दिस chemosynthetic autotrophic bacteria help in these conversions from ammonia to nitrite, nitrite to nitrate. वो साइकिल हम देखने वाले हैं आगे जाके. The next is fourth one is heterotrophic bacteria. So heterotrophic bacteria are most abundant in nature. The majority are important decomposers. Many of them have a significant impact on human affairs. They are helpful in making curd from milk, production of antibiotics, fixing nitrogen in legumes, etc. Some are pathogenic, causing damage to human beings, crops, farm animals, pets, etc. So we have got bacterial infections also, na? See, chlorella, cholera, typhoid, tetanus, citrus canker are well-known diseases caused by different bacteria. So cholera तो हमें पता है, हाँ, टाइफॉइड भी हमें पता है, टेटनस भी हमें पता है. सिट्रस कैंकर क्या है बेटा? सिट्रस कैंकर इज द बैक्टीरियल डिजीज कॉज्ड टू द सिट्रस प्लांट्स लाइक लेमन, ऑरेंज, स्वीट लाइम, है ना. ये प्लांट्स को बैक्टीरियल इन्फेक्शन होता है, उनको हम कहते हैं सिट्रस कैंकर. इट इज नथिंग टू डू विद ह्यूमन बीइंग. हाँ, कॉलरा, टाइफॉइड, टेटनस सारे ह्यूमन बीइंग्स को होते हैं, बट सिट्रस कैंकर प्लांट का बैक्टीरियल डिजीज है. ओके, understood? The last one under Monera is the Archaebacteria. So Archaebacteria, they are ancient and the most primitive prokaryotes. The cell wall in Archaebacteria contains proteins, that is pseudomurine, and non-cellulosic polysaccharides. So see, Archaebacteria के cell wall में और यूबैक्टीरिया के सेल वॉल में बहुत ज्यादा फर्क है. आर्के में क्या है? प्रोटीन्स भी है, नॉन सेलुलोजिक पॉलीसैकेराइड्स भी है, राइट. इट लैक्स पेप्टिडोग्लाइकैन. यूकैरियोटिक सेल वाज हैविंग पेप्टिडोग्लाइकैन, so it lacks peptidoglycan, the characteristic cell wall material in bacteria and cyanobacteria. So archaebacteria do not have peptidoglycan. The cell membrane contains branched chain lipids. So membrane जो है ना, सेल वॉल के नीचे जो हमने सेल मेम्ब्रेन देखी, जो मीजोसोम्स बना रही थी, आर्केबैक्टीरिया में ये जो सेल मेम्ब्रेन है, इट विल बी हैविंग branched chain lipids. Okay, you know, जिधर लिपिड ज्यादा है उधर इंसुलेटिंग प्रॉपर्टी ज्यादा है, हाँ या ना. द पीपल हु आर मोर ओबीज, बहुत फैट होते हैं ना, उनको जनरली ज्यादा ठंड नहीं लगती है, पता है आपको ये. द रीजन इज बिकॉज ऑफ द लेयर ऑफ द लिपिड. हियर आल्सो दिस आर्केबैक्टीरिया गॉट अ लेयर ऑफ लिपिड. तो एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट एंड इंटरनल एनवायरनमेंट ऑफ द बैक्टीरिया कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. कितना भी एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट चेंज होने दो, इंटरनली ये बैक्टीरिया स्टेबल रहते हैं, राइट. This chemical composition of the cell membrane enables these organisms to withstand extremes of temperature and pH. They are grouped into obligate anaerobes and facultative anaerobes. Obligate means they are strict anaerobes. थोड़ा सा भी अगर ऑक्सीजन उनके आजू बाजू में अगर आ गया ना, they will get killed. And facultative anaerobes means they can survive in anaerobic conditions as well. So look at this, obligate or strict anaerobes. They live under anaerobic conditions and only are killed in presence of oxygen. थोड़ा सा भी ऑक्सीजन उनके कांटेक्ट में आया, मर जाते हैं. They are further divided into two subgroups, methanogens and halophiles. Methanogen, the one which generate the gas methane. They are obligate anaerobes occurring in marshy habitats. They are capable of converting carbon dioxide and formic acid into methane, and hence the name methanogen, right. Second are halophiles. Halophiles means salt lovers. They live in habitats having high salinity and high light intensity. उनको हम कहते हैं halophiles. ऐसे बहुत सारे हैं which are lavishly growing in salt waters. What are facultative anaerobes? So these were your obligate anaerobes. What are facultative anaerobes? See? They are normally the ones who respire aerobically, but are capable of withstanding anaerobic conditions as well quite comfortably. The archaebacteria in this category are thermoacidophiles. नाम से पता चल रहा है, thermo means high temperature, acido means high, I mean low pH, and phile means loving. So these are capable of tolerating high temperature as well as high acidity, means low pH, and hence the name thermoacidophiles. They often live in hot spring waters where the temperature is high as 80 degrees Celsius and the pH as low as 2. हमारे पेट में भी pH 2 होता है because of hydrochloric acid. They oxidize sulfur to sulfuric acid in the presence of oxygen, that is under aerobic conditions, and obtain energy by the reactions utilized for the synthesis of organic food. The medium becomes highly acidic due to production of sulfuric acid. Under anaerobic conditions, sulfur is reduced to hydrogen sulfide H2S. तो वो कुछ भी करके अपनी एनर्जी डिराइव करेंगे. एरोबिक कंडीशंस है तो भी एनर्जी डिराइव करेंगे, एनारोबिक कंडीशंस है तो भी एनर्जी डिराइव करेंगे. In this way, these facultative anaerobes are better adapted to sustain and survive in a particular condition. समझ में आया? Obligate क्या, facultative क्या, ये दोनों वर्ड समझ में आ गए बेटा? कोई डिफिकल्टी है इसमें आपको? So that's all with your Monera. Let us go ahead with one more is remaining. Mycoplasma is remaining. Then we have got Protista. Okay. Mycoplasma is called as pleuropneumonia-like organisms. Pleuro means having different shapes. Pneumonia-like organisms. They resemble the organisms that cause pneumonia. Okay. PPLO भी कहा जाता है mycoplasmas को. The mycoplasmas are organisms that completely lack a cell wall. They do not have a cell wall at all. They are the smallest living cells known to us and can survive without oxygen. So even if there is no oxygen, they can sustain, they can survive. Many mycoplasmas are pathogenic in animals as well as in plants. So ये mycoplasma का infection animals को भी हो सकता है और plants को भी हो सकता है. They appear like fried eggs on the culture medium. So when you try to grow them on the nutrient agar medium ना, they appear like fried egg. Fried egg कैसे दिखता है? आजू बाजू में व्हाइट कलर का दिखता है और सेंटर में येलो कलर का दिखता है. तो वैसे कुछ इसका appearance दिखता है like a fried egg colony. Fine. So this is your mycoplasmas. Point to be remembered are no cell wall, can sustain in anaerobic condition, pathogenic to man and plant, and appears like a fried egg colony. That's it with your mycoplasmas to be remembered. Okay, so that completes our first group, that is Monera. Let me tell you, Monera सबसे बड़ा है, बाकी के इतने बड़े हैं नहीं. ठीक है? We have got 10 minutes in hand, so we can go ahead with Protista. At least plant-like Protista अपने आज complete हो जाएंगे. So kingdom Protista, a single cell eukaryotic and placed under Protista, but the boundaries of this kingdom are not well defined. Why the boundaries are not well defined? Because plant-like Protist भी है, animal-like Protist भी है, fungi-like Protist भी है, right? Kingdom Protista has been broadly divided into three main categories: photosynthetic Protist or Protistian algae, which are called as plant Protista; consumer decomposer Protist or slime molds, called as advanced Protist or fungi-like Protist; Protozoan protist, animal protist. Members of the protista are primarily aquatic. तो majority of protistas जो है ना वो aquatic है. मतलब क्या? You would find it in water. This kingdom forms a link with others dealing with plants, animal, and fungi. So they are a link with other organisms because they are from plant, from animal, from fungi. So they will form a link. Huh? Being eukaryotes, the protistian cell body contains a well-defined nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. They are eukaryotes. So they have a proper cell, organized cell. Some have flagella or cilia. Protists reproduce asexually also and sexually also by the process of involving cell fusion and zygote formation. First, talk about the photosynthetic protists or protistian algae or fungi-like protists. Okay, they include chrysophytes, that is diatoms and desmids, dinoflagellates, euglenoids. They constitute the main part of the oceans, which are called as phytoplankton. तो फाइटोप्लैंक्टन, जूप्लैंक्टन, ये नाम आपने सुने तो होंगे ही. तो ये जो फाइटोप्लैंक्टन्स होते हैं ना, they are this photosynthetic protists. Okay. First, we talk about the chrysophytes. This group includes diatoms and golden algae, which is called as desmids. They are found in fresh water as well as in marine water. They are microscopic and they float passively in water current. Float passively का मतलब है अगर water current ऐसे जा रहा है तो वो भी water current के साथ ही flow करेंगे. They won't go against the flow. उसको हम कहते हैं passive floating. Okay. The ones which passively float will be called as planktons. Most of them are photosynthetic. Diatoms are unusual in their vegetative cells are being typically diploid. तो diatoms और desmids में क्या फर्क है? दोनों chrysophytes है. But what is the difference between diatoms and desmids? The most important point is all diatoms are diploid while all desmids are haploid. Okay. So here you can see so many different types of protists. ये देखो, ये देखो, ये देखो. These all are your protistian protists. In diatoms, the cell wall forms two thin overlapping shells which fit together as a soap box. तो ये जो है ना ये डायग्राम में you can see ये देखो ये एक दूसरे के ऊपर बराबर फिट हो रहा है just like a soap box. So you know they are also called as soap boxes of protista. Huh? Who diatoms. The walls are embedded with silica and thus the walls are indestructible. Here you can see the silver color के ऐसे particles. ये देखो बेटा ये silver particles दिखाई दे रहे हैं आपको whitish. ये देखो silver वाले. What is it? It is nothing but it is covering of the silica particles. So they form silica on their cell wall surfaces. Huh? Thus diatoms and silica is indestructible. It won't get depleted, degenerated, कुछ नहीं होता है. Thus diatoms have left behind large amount of cell wall deposits in their habitats. This accumulation over billions of years is referred to as diatomaceous earth or kieselguhr. Being gritty, it can be used in polishing, filtration of oils and syrups. या आपको पता है किधर होते हैं? अगर आपके घर पे एक्वागार्ड नाम की कोई चीज है तो वो बोलते हैं ना कि एक्वागार्ड के जो कैंडल्स है वो चेंज करने पड़ते हैं. सो दोस कैंडल्स अगर आपने कभी देखे हैं एक्वागार्ड के तो इट इज मेड अप ऑफ सिलिका. ओके, दे आर सिलिशियस इन नेचर. इट्स मेड अप ऑफ सिलिका. कहाँ से मिला सिलिका? डायटम्स से. तो जब डायटम्स मर जाते हैं ना so they go down and settle at the bottom of the water body, right? And उनकी body तो decompose हो जाती है लेकिन सिलिका जो है वो indestructible है. So that silica is extracted, it is purified, it is going to be treated and उसके ये candles बनाए जाते हैं एक्वागार्ड के जो हम यूज करते हैं फॉर फिल्टरिंग द वाटर एंड ड्रिंकिंग. ओके, सो दैट कैंडल्स आर मेड अप ऑफ कीजलगर या फिर डाइएटोमेशियस अर्थ. So what is diatomaceous earth? The silica which is going to be formed on the cell wall of diatoms is diatomaceous earth. Okay, diatoms are the chief producers in the ocean. So you know producer, primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. ये आपने food pyramids तो देखे होंगे lower standards में. तो ये जो है ये प्रोड्यूसर्स है, मतलब मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द ग्रीन सोलार रेडिएशन प्राप्त करके फूड बनाने का काम जो है ये डायटम्स करते हैं. तो दे आर कॉल्ड एज द चीफ प्रोड्यूसर्स ऑफ द ओशन. ठीक है. The second group, which is also a plant protist, will be your dinoflagellates. So these organisms are mostly marine and photosensitive. They appear yellow, green, brown, blue, or red, depending upon the main pigments present in them. The cell wall has stiff cellulosic plates on the outer surface. You can see these plates. ये देखो, ये आपको plates दिखाई दे रहे हैं, ये वाले. So they are stiff cellulose से बने हुए plates हैं. Okay. Most of them have two flagella. One lies longitudinally and the other transversely in the furrow between the plates. So ये देखो, ये एक है ऐसा और एक ये दूसरा है, ये देखो. So one is longitudinal, one is transverse. तो ये plates के बीच में जो gap है ना, उधर से ये originate होता है flagella. Very often red dinoflagellates, example Goniolax, undergo such rapid multiplication that they make the sea to appear red, which is called as red tide. अभी मैंने तुम्हें रेड सी के बारे में बताया था इन साइनोबैक्टीरिया, और अब ये रेड टाइड के बारे में बता रही हूँ. बेटा, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन रेड सी एंड रेड टाइड? जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड. रेड सी was caused by cyanobacteria called as Trichodesmium erythraeum, है ना? So the entire water was appearing red in color. But when I say red tide caused by the dinoflagellate called as Goniolax, so what is that red tide? So red tide is something which is the foam that will be collected over the water. आपने वो झाग देखा है? वो जो एक वेव आती है तो वेव के ऊपर एक झाग आता है, एक फोम आता है. हाँ, तो ये जो फोम है वो जनरली व्हाइट कलर का रहता है, जो हमने देखे हैं अपने इधर. अगर आप जू बीच पे भी जाते हो ना तो व्हाइट कलर का फोम आता है. लेकिन इन केस ऑफ गोनियोलैक्स ये व्हाइट फोम के जगह पर है ना रेड फोम दिखाई देगा. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज अ रेड टाइड. So when Goniolax will be present, the tide will show the presence of red foam coming over. Okay. So remember, they ask you in your examination, red sea किसके वजह से है और red tide किसके वजह से है? Well, toxins called as saxitoxin released by such large numbers may even kill other marine animals such as fish. So when these Goniolax are present in very high numbers, they may produce a poison. The name of the poison is saxitoxin, which can even kill the marine fish. So dinoflagellates वैसे देखा जाए तो थोड़ा danger है ना. And lastly, we have got euglenoids. Majority of them are freshwater organisms found in stagnant water. Fresh water, but stagnant water. Fresh water means not marine water, but it is not flowing water. River water नहीं है, stagnant है. तो लेक है, पूल है, puddles है, इनमें यूग्लेनॉइड्स दिखते हैं. Okay. Instead of a cell wall, they have a protein-rich layer called as pellicle, and this makes their body highly flexible. So इनमें wall नहीं है बेटा, इसलिए ये rigid नहीं है, but इनमें एक pellicle नाम की चीज होती है जो बहुत ही elastic होती है. They have two flagella, short and long. Nutrition is mixotrophic, that is though they are photosynthetic in the presence of sunlight, when deprived of sunlight, they behave like heterotrophs by predating on other smaller organisms. So जब sunlight है, तब तक photosynthesis करेगा. जैसे ही sunset हो जाता है, feeding दूसरे organisms के ऊपर चालू करेगा. Okay, so it's going to be mixotrophic, showing presence of autotrophic also and heterotrophic also. Okay. Interestingly, the pigments of euglenoids are identical to those found in the green plants. That is chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Plants में भी वही pigments है और euglenoids में भी वही pigments है. Under favorable conditions, they multiply by longitudinal binary fission. तो longitudinal का मतलब कैसे होता है? They cut like this way. ऐसे divide होते हैं. ऐसे divide नहीं होते. They divide in this longitudinal fashion. Okay. Yeah, that's all with your plant-like protists. So under Protista, we have completed with plant-like protists with diatoms, dinoflagellates, and euglenoids. Okay, we have already completed these. Now, tomorrow at 10 o'clock also, I'll be keeping a lecture with you all, 10 to 12, same timing I'm going to keep a lecture with you all tomorrow also. And we'll go ahead with consumer decomposer protist or fungi-like protist in tomorrow's class. So today I'll stop here and tomorrow again we'll meet at 10 o'clock and go ahead with the next part of this chapter. Okay? Sure. Bye. Bye. See you all.